here. Do them down right now.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the roll call.
Mayor Steve King,
Present.
council members Richard Orphan,
Here.
Rich Scordahl,
Here.
Chris McClish,
Here.
Tim Brown.
Here.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Brown. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. McClish. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. I'll now entertain a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Mr. McClish makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Orphan. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none. All those in favor of adopting tonight's consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Meeting open to the public. Did anyone sign up to speak tonight?
No.
No one signed up to speak. Okay. Petitions, requests, and applications. The charter amendment. Mr. Coleman, would you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. Honorable Mayor, members of the council, in front of you tonight is a proposed charter amendment that would enable the council to change the meeting dates by resolution as opposed to ordinance. It's a one-word change, and that essentially would allow the council to make meeting changes to the dates and times. I think most importantly, or probably most at the forefront of the radar, is the second meeting in December, which is the one that always kind of comes up on people's schedules. So the council could effectively remove that meeting altogether and then just meet at the beginning of January, as opposed to if you were to do it by ordinance, it would take approximately 60 days or so to have that go into effect.
Okay. And today we have a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing at 6:02. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this issue? Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this change? Seeing none, I will close the public meeting at 6:03. Are you looking for a motion from us tonight, or what are you looking for tonight?
So this being a first reading, we would bring it back for a second reading and then we would adopt it by ordinance. I believe would be the procedure. So
Which we have underneath ordinances resolutions later this evening.
Yeah. Okay. All right, then we'll move on to Rod Royce, the Veteran Memorial Request. Please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Rod Royce. I live at 24339 Queenbird Street, Northwest. It's on the east side of town out here. I've lived here for about 13 years. And just in the last couple of years, I started looking around and I was wondering, where is our Veterans Memorial? Can anybody answer that question for me? We've got them for the police department, which certainly deserve it. We've got one for the fire department, which certainly deserves it. And we have one for a major who was in the Army and flew an airplane. It's over there by the intact here. So I'm kind of curious. Can anyone tell me where it is? And if you can't tell me where it is, why don't we have one?
This is time for you to speak, sir. It's not a dialogue.
Well, it's okay. You can talk back and tell me that because I have these questions. So if I ask a question, I appreciate an answer. Where is it?
There isn't one.
Why not?
Sir, I don't know, but this is not a dialogue.
All right, here's
Okay.
what I'm gonna say about this whole thing. How long has this city been a city? Anybody know? Because that's not on your website either. I will say it's probably been around, and I will just guess, 80 to 100 years. Okay? We as Americans owe a lot to the 7%. Anybody know what that is? You know?
I think I do.
7% of the people in the United States wear a uniform. And protect our rights as we know them today. A lot of those 7%ers never came home. Okay? Men, women, never came home. I've only lived here for 13 years, but I ride a motorcycle, and I've been through towns that have 400 people in them, and they have a veterans park with a memorial and a flag. We have a perfectly good flag down in our park in the center of the city with 2 wonderful lights on it. We could have a memorial there for vets. Since that's the reason we all have nice chairs to sit in. We don't speak languages like Russian. We don't speak languages like Japanese, okay, or German. It's because of those people. So, I'm going to volunteer. If you want it, I will volunteer to find out how much it's going to cost this city for a plaque. A place to put it. It's been at least 85 to 100 years and nobody's ever done anything about it. So I think it's time to start now. Thank you.
All right. Moving
Did all
on
get recorded?
to ordinances and resolutions.
Good.
Mr. Coleman, will you look into something?
Yep.
Ordinance 214, second series, amending City Code, Chapter 6, Section 3, entitled Dances. This is the first reading.
Mr. Mayor, this is a holdover from prior discussion and presentation. This is the material that was presented to you previously. It was pulled for further discussion of the matter with the police chief. As you recall, the issue was whether the police chief should have prior review of what the security arrangements are and take action on it. Since that meeting, we've had a chance to look at some language in other cities, reviewed it with the chief, and you can see that the language changed primarily in sub 634F that talks about the licensee is going to employ at their own expense security personnel as are necessary. So it takes the chief formally out of the mandatory review part of the dance regulation. So with that, there was also a change to make the dance regulations prohibit licensees permitting any person, rather than age 16, it's 18 years unless you've got a guardian. And then the dance hours would be changed from 1 a.m. to midnight. So those are the primary changes. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise, present for your review and potential adoption, first reading.
Okay, council, do you have any questions for legal? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for ordinance 214.
I'll make that motion for approval.
Mr. Brown makes a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClish. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Orpin?
Aye.
Mr. Skordahl?
Aye.
Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Ordinance 215, second series, amending the city charter relating to council meetings, first reading. And we just went through that. Does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
To approve?
To approve.
To approve. Mr. McClish makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none. All those in favor, again, a roll call. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Scordo?
Aye.
Mr. Orpik?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Okay, ordinance 216, second series, tobacco ordinance, first reading.
Mr. Mayor, this is a ordinance change that's got the rationale and the detail outlined in a January 26, 2016 memo, briefly stating it adds e-cigs to an area that the city is going to regulate. So nicotine, and don't ask me what this is, a lobelia delivery device. It was a term of art that certainly was created well after I became a teenager. So but with that, we're just adding that as an area of regulation. So.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 216.
Mr. Scordo makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Orpik. Is there any discussion before we call for the vote? Hearing none. Mr. Brown, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Scordo?
Aye.
Mr. Orpik?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Ordinance 217, second series, drug paraphernalia, first reading.
Mr. Mayor, again, this is an area that City Attorney's Office reviewed and determined that there was no language in the city code on this, so we're creating a proposed code section, Chapter 8, Section 11, that talks about what drug paraphernalia is, prohibits use or possession, delivery and manufacturing is also prohibited, and provides greater detail on those basic prohibitions. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from the council? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. Orpik makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClish. Is there any discussion before we call for the vote? Hearing none, Mr. Orpik, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Scordo?
Aye.
Mr. McClish?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion's passed. Reports of consultants and staff members, our city engineer, Pedersen Drive Safety Improvement Project.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. First item in your packet this evening is regarding the Pedersen Drive Safety Improvement Project. If you recall, initially this project was brought up by council as a result of concerns for pedestrian safety along that corridor. And that was actually in December, or in 2014, in July, the feasibility, or the plans and specifications were authorized for the project. Those plans have been completed, and they're before you this evening. There's actually two resolutions enclosed in your packet for this item. The first is approving the plans and specifications, authorizing advertisement. The second, because there's state aid funds associated with this project, state aid also requires that the no parking resolution be passed. That's simply a formality, if you will, as we know that we've never intended for parking to occur there, but that basically memorializes that with the state and allows those funds to be transferred with that. So with that, I would answer any questions that you have. The other item that I will bring up is Public Works Director and I are currently evaluating some sign technology that would enhance the visibility of those signs at the crosswalk locations only, to make sure that motorists, it's a change in pedestrian patterns. Pedestrians are actually going to be funneled there, they're crossing on their own, and we're looking at some potential technology that would enhance that visibility for those pedestrians to the motorists. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Council, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bowden? Gee, hearing none, I will entertain a motion for resolution 2016-04.
So moved.
Mr. Brown makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second.
Mr. Skordal seconds. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2016-04, vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, Resolution 2016-05. I will entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Orpik makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now on to the MnDOT agreement.
Yes, Mayor and Council, the second item in your packets this evening is relative to the master partnership agreement, which would be between the city of St. Francis and MnDOT. Essentially what the master partnership agreement does is it provides an opportunity for both the city and the state to complete projects cooperatively, meaning if something would happen on the trunk highway system and city forces were available to address the situation, it provides a conduit for which MnDOT would be able to reimburse the city. Likewise, if MnDOT was needed to assist with something city-related, it would provide that same conduit for payment from the city to MnDOT. We see this typically as it relates to items such as lighting, testing, signals, that type of thing. Obviously, we don't have a signal phone, but in the future, if we did, certainly would have that opportunity. It's very common in state-aid communities, and typically, MnDOT reviews their files with communities where federal funds are going to be expended, and this year the Anoka County project, First Street Improvement Project, will have federal funds on it, and although that's not specifically city-related, it's part of their review process with review. So we've reviewed it. It's a standard agreement that's forwarded to all the state aid cities that the MnDOT sends it to, and we recommend approval.
Okay, is there any questions for Mr. Bowe on this? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 2016-06.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2016-06.
Mr. Skordal makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClish. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing Resolution 2016-06 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Vogt.
Thank you.
Moving on to the city attorney. Meeting pursuant to Minnesota Stat 13D.05 subsection 2 to consider allegations against employees subject to council authority. The employee requested an open meeting.
That's
Mr.
correct, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. As you indicated, this is a meeting that would normally be closed under open meeting law because it involves private data. The individual subject to the investigation does have a statutory right to request that the meeting be open, and the individual did make that request, so we've got an open meeting tonight. With that, the state law does permit the council to discuss private data, but only to the extent necessary for a thorough consideration and direction on the matter. So you don't need to talk about the private data. Please avoid it if possible, but if you do need to, you certainly can. The issue, and you have the report, involves allegations of a violation of city policy involving a member of the fire department. The fire chief received some information of a potential policy violation and followed appropriate procedure by contacting the city administrator, who then contacted me in order to fully address the investigation of the matter. Outside individual was assigned to investigate the matter. It was the senior partners in my law firm, who was a very experienced investigator, came up and met with the individuals at issue. And based on the results of the investigation, it appears that the specific initial focus of the investigation involved what I would characterize as private, non-duty related communications. So the initial report was investigated, and the policy violation in that respect was found to be something that we're not bringing forward as recommended discipline. Investigation of the matter did reveal a fairly ongoing performance issue, and certainly that's also detailed in the report. Basically, the matter, because it involves firefighters, we don't follow the normal procedure that we would apply to regular employees and bring performance issues to the council for review and determination. There's separate bylaws and operating procedures that we have in the fire department. So with that, the report has been reviewed by the administrator, and I will be sitting down with the fire chief to address the performance issues that were identified. So with that, I guess in summary, I'm not making a recommendation for discipline to the council this evening, but rather recognition that the administrator and I and the chief will be sitting down and addressing this as a performance issue. So with that, I'd open it up for discussion. County, proceed otherwise.
Council, questions?
I guess I would just clear if even if half of what's in this report is accurate, who are you sitting down to performance to evaluate? Is it the chief? Is it the firefighters involved? Is it all of the above?
There's obviously we would start with the chief as the head of the department, run through what the allegations and findings are. Certainly, it would involve dealing with performance issues identified against the subject of the investigation. Certainly.
Okay, I guess what I'm asking is if there's a pretty thorough, detailed section on some things that were said to take place that may or may not have taken place.
Right.
And if even half of those are true, I think that more than just the person involved in their initial report needs to be investigated for their performance. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
So-
I agree.
Okay. And just to be clear, that's the everyone involved and the fire chief would be performance evaluated.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr.
Just a quick question, are we gonna have a follow-up with the council?
We'll probably give you a follow-up with the council to the extent that any action comes out of the performance evaluation, it would come in front of the council. Sure. But because the fire's got its own rules, it would probably be coming to the council as an informational item rather than a discussion agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Scordahl, do you agree with this course of action?
Yes, I do. My only comment is the citizens of this city spend a lot of money training people, and we've got very valuable equipment that these folks are placed in charge of. And I think when the citizens expect a qualified, competent squad of folks to respond to whatever issues might arise in the city, I think we got to take whatever steps are needed to make sure those needs are met. And I think the step you've outlined, I think is a very important step to get in that direction. Right now, everything I've read in here, not 100% sure I know the taxpayers and the citizens in this city are getting what they are paying for. So please go off and go take this first step, and let's get on the road to recovery in the fire department.
Mr. Brown?
I agree with the described actions.
Thank you.
Mr. Lepek, you've got your direction. Thank you. Now we'll get into a closed meeting pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D to develop offers for the sale of real property.
Mr. Mayor, before we go in, I was hoping you would continue. We have to describe the property. That's typically the dubious job of the city attorney. The property we're going to be discussing is Section 22, Township 034, Range 024. It's the 183.55 acres up in Isani County, southeast quarter FCT and E2 of the Southwest 4. So with that, I would ask that we go into closed meeting to discuss that. We will be taping that closed meeting. At the end of that closed meeting, we'll be coming out and providing a summary of what action, if any, is going to be taken.
Okay. Gentlemen?
We lost him.
We lost him.
Still figuring out the tape recorder.
You're under the lighting system. Okay, we'll reconvene in open session.
Mr. Mayor, just to summarize, we went into a closed meeting to discuss the 183.55 acres in Isani County. The direction is to have the city look to enter into a lease for that as ag land for this summer. So that's the direction we've got. Next agenda, or next council meeting, we'll hopefully be able to bring some more information back to you on that. So with that, that concludes our discussion on that item.
Okay, we'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Coleman.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, staff has provided some proposed changes to the police chief position. Since we are opening it internally, we're broadening, we think, the applicant pool with some of these changes made to the job description. So we're going to look for approval on that. Also, to establish an interview panel, which I assume would be the city council, potentially the city attorney and myself sitting in on the interviews, but with the council actually being the panel. And tentative interview dates of maybe April 5th at 5 p.m. Excuse me. So with that, if we can agree on the interview panel, the date of the interviews, and then the job description, we would need a motion to approve those changes.
What are you looking?
First item would be the police chief position description amendments.
Yep. And we would need a motion to approve that.
Council, is there any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion to approve the police chief position.
The amendments, okay.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second.
And a second by Mr. Skordal. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Sensing none, all those in favor of changing the description signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Interview panel and interview date tentatively the interview date would be April 5th at 5 p.m. if we can agree on that. Probably post the position March 28th, that Monday.
Okay, you need a motion on that?
A motion or general direction is fine as long as we can.
Gentlemen?
Works for me.
Okay, you've got your direction. Is there anything else?
We may post it a little earlier if we can, so.
Just the interview panel, as long as the council, the entire council wants to sit in, that's what we'll proceed.
Gentlemen? Yeah.
Okay, great.
Moving on, reports from council members. Mr. Orpin,
I don't have anything this month or week.
Mr. Skordal,
I don't have anything either.
Mr. McClish,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Braun.
Nothing this evening.
Okay, and the mayor has nothing to report. Old business, is there any old business? Mr. McClish.
It was about a month and a half ago, and it was brought down to council meeting that we got the sinkhole on the east or west side of Rummer Boulevard by the high school. I noticed that the condition is getting actually worse. Part of the road is actually starting to sink down. So I'm just wondering if there's any updates on that at all?
I know that we've been in contact with the county and they're gonna go out there. I'm not sure what the outcome was, but I can get an email sent out once they get all the facts.
Okay.
But they were supposed to be out there.
That'd be great because, I mean, a few feet up, if you walk a few feet from the end of the asphalt, I mean, it drops down. That's about 15 feet approximately. And if a car goes off that road, oh, it's not gonna be pretty. So if we could send something out, notify the county ASAP, that'd be great.
Is there any other old business? Yes, Mr. McClish.
Just checking to see if we have any updates on the asphalt on some of our city streets, since the winter's pretty much over with, hopefully. A lot of the streets are falling apart very quickly. This has been an ongoing issue. I just check with staff to see if we have any updates, if we're working on it, or
If I may clarify, you talked about the delamination.
yes.
We're actually looking at doing a road inventories, a formal road inventory to assess all the pavement because of the delamination. I don't know if Mr. Vogel wants to speak to that anymore, but
Yeah, we'll be, Public Works Director and I will be driving, and our city staff will be looking at those streets. We've discussed a road inventory, as Mr. Coleman said, to basically identify, we know that the issue's out there, and identify the extent of it and develop a plan for moving forward to address it. So we haven't reviewed them yet since the snow melted here in these 60-degree days, but definitely high on our list.
Okay. And also if we could check to see if there's a solution to prevent it from crumbling apart. I mean, this winter took a big beating on some of the roads. Not too happy about it. The people, the citizens expect these roads to last 20, 25 years, and hate to see a road to get replaced in 15 years, so I just want to make staff aware.
Yep.
Okay, any other old businesses? Is there any new business? Is there any new business? Hearing none, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.